So, my name is Gary, and I'm a health coach and registered nurse, and you're ready to get healthy. So, how do we start getting healthy? What do we do to break the cycle of our life, whether it's eating or exercise or everything, in order to get healthy? One of the ways we can do this is just listen to our inner wisdom. There's a voice inside of us, a guiding force that lets us know when we're failing or doing something wrong. It's that voice that tells you, hey, don't drink that 2 liter Diet Coke, drink some water. It's that voice that says you don't need 4 of those donuts, but you do it anyway. It's that voice that says you should drink water instead of that 6th cup of coffee. It's these little things that our body is trying to tell us because it's unhealthy. And when you're unhealthy, your body has all of these warning symptoms, all of these warning alarms that go off: fatigue, anxiety, depression. These are all signs that our body's unhealthy. These are all signs that it's trying to say something's wrong and to correct it. And saying that is a lot easier than doing something about it. I know, because I didn't do anything about it until I'm 49. One of my biggest failings was drinking water. I literally might drink 1 glass of water a month, if that much. I sustained myself on energy drinks, Diet Cokes, and coffee. Most of the time, to fight the crash of the energy drinks, the diet soda, and the coffee. At some point, that energy's gone and you crash and you need something to pick yourself back up. And when the energy drinks, the diet sodas, and the coffees didn't work, I went for sugar, candy bars, snacks, all of those things. They are all designed that when that energy is gone, that you get those dopamine hits. And as a nurse, night after night after night, I would go through this cycle. And eventually, I felt horrible. And I knew that nutrition played a part, but I didn't really understand how much of a part nutrition plays. So I started looking into it. And when you go down this rabbit hole of industrial food making, you find that there are so many elements that go into what we eat today that it's no wonder that we have such an obesity problem, because obesity is a side effect of not being healthy. Obesity itself is not what's causing heart disease. It's not what's causing all of these other problems, these chronic conditions that we're getting medicated for: heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol. These are all side effects from us being unhealthy. And the way that happens is our body rebuilds itself constantly. The cells that make up your liver, that make up your kidneys, that even make up your brain, are not the same cells that you had 10 years ago. They're not the same cells you had 5 years ago. Believe it or not, in some cases, our entire blood rebuilds itself. I want to say in, 30 days. You could check it out. It's incredible. But the point is that our cells are constantly rebuilding themselves. So if we're not giving our cells the right building blocks, and those are micronutrients, they're proteins, they're, amino acids, they're all of these things that our cells need to rebuild themselves. If we're not using those, our body will find a way. And what happens is it starts robbing from other systems to do things. Our body has a priority. It wants to keep our brain fed first and foremost. And then it wants to feed our heart because that circulates. So it takes priority. So it will rob from one organ so that another organ can survive. Whatever the most important organ is in that hierarchy will get precedence. And so when we're eating just junk, these ultra-processed foods, our body just goes into a survival mode. There's, studies that show that with our inflammatory system being turned on, and you might be like, well, how is our inflammatory system turned on? All of those ingredients that are in processed foods that aren't real foods, our body doesn't know that. Our body sees food as either some kind of nutrient or an invader. And so when we eat this stuff, our body looks in our stomach and it says, oh my gosh, look at all these chemicals. Let's attack. And so it's trying to protect us from these poisons and toxins that make the shelf life of these foods a year or more. And so when we put these toxins in our body sees it as invaders, and it turns on an immune response and it says, hey, we've got to get rid of these invaders. So every meal, we're putting these invaders in our body, so our immune system never has time to rest. And it's kind of like if you can do 10 push-ups, you do your 10 push-ups, you're fatigued, you're tired, you can't go anymore, but along comes a drill sergeant who's like, sorry, you need to do 100 more. By the time you get to that 100th one, they're puny, wimpy, horrible-looking push-ups. That's how our immune system is. By the time it gets to fighting off that 1,000th or 10,000th invader that we've put in our body, it really just doesn't care. It's just swinging at stuff. And so it starts attacking ourselves. People with chronic inflammatory diseases aren't told that, hey, your immune system is attacking you. You need to limit the amount of invaders you're putting into it. Instead, they're given a pill or a medication or sent to a specialist instead of given diets that limit the amount of invaders. And so when we're talking about getting healthy, the first thing we have to look at is how to limit the invaders. For me, I had to do the typical reward system. For every Diet Coke I drank, I would drink a bottled water. Yes, there's microplastics in that, so we have to pick our battles. Like our health, we live in an environment we're never going to escape all of the hazards, but we can limit them. And so for a week, I drink a bottled water. I could have a Diet Coke. Second week, I would drink 2 waters. I could have a Diet Coke. I did that for 6 weeks to where I got to where I wasn't drinking any Diet Cokes because I wanted to be healthier, and I noticed that I felt better, but I had replaced the Diet Cokes with coffee and I was still drinking energy drinks. So my next battle was the energy drinks. So I would drink my 2 waters, 3 waters, have an energy drink. The process was long. It took me 6 weeks to get to where I was not drinking any diet sodas and only having 1 energy drink a week. And then I was able to get off of energy drinks altogether and drink coffee. Now, coffee has natural caffeine, and we'll talk about caffeine and its effects because there's natural caffeine and artificial caffeine, and they have very different effects. But coffee is an antioxidant, and oxidative stress also goes into this metabolic dysbiosis of everything. And so the point is that making little steps helps. In the 6 weeks that I went through this process of getting hydrated, because the water hydrated me, which I was grossly dehydrated after 10 plus years of night nursing lifestyle of drinking energy drinks and diet soda as my main source of fluid intake. It was horrible. It's tough to admit, but that's who I was. I also lost 10 pounds. The reason for that is because my energy drinks and my diet soda had aspartame in it, and aspartame affects our microbiome. It affects our metabolism, and there's studies showing how this happens. So anyway, I encourage you to look at the little things you can do in your life. Sometimes it's as simple as adding water in. Maybe it's as simple as, I don't know what it is for you, but there is some easy steps. These are the little things we can do to improve our health. The benefit is as you start to feel better from the little steps, it encourages you to keep going. We'll talk more about how aspartame and some of these other things affect your metabolic health and the things you can do to slowly improve your health for lasting change. Thank you for watching and tune in. We'll talk more later.